character AI may not be something that's on your radar, depending if you are a person of a certain age, meaning older. But I'm telling you, this thing is all the rage. It has millions and millions of downloads. This is when you kind of think about, the AI girlfriend. I'm putting that in giant air quotes there. That's character AI. It does a lot more than that, obviously, but character AI is one of the absolute top AI companies. And it's in the news these days because Google essentially did what feels like an acqui-hire. It's not exactly an acqui-hire. It's sort of partially, it's essentially licensing character AI's software and all the thing they do. But the reason that this made big news, excuse me, was because it seems like for all the world that they really paid $2.7 billion to Character AI to bring back a man named Noam Shazeer, who is one of and by the way, let me just say this on Noam Shazeer, and then I want to kick it over to Jaden, because Jaden has been doing a ton around this Character AI stuff. Noam Shazeer was one of the original people who wrote, one of the 8 people who wrote Attention is All You Need, which kicked off the Transformer movement. He left Google, he started Character AI, and Google paid a lot to bring it back. So Google loves character AI. You don't know it yet, but I'm sure people you know are using character AI. Google and character AI is all over the news. Jaden, what are you reading about this? Because there's so much here.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say, if anyone's interested in diving deep on this, you got to read an article on Business Insider called Google's reported $2.7 billion deal to bring back a former employee is proof AI geniuses are the new star quarterbacks. And of course, our famous Connor Grennan was interviewed for this article on Business Insider. So you got to read his article. Come on, go support the man. This is a fascinating story. Essentially, the regulatory environment in the United States right now is such, and actually, I'm not even going to throw the US under the bus, because the last big deal that kicked off a lot of this kind of shifty acqui-hire movements actually came from a watchdog group in the UK that shut down the acquisition Adobe was trying to make of Figma, multi-billion-dollar acquisition. And it just essentially, we've learned that big companies, especially tech companies, cannot acquire smaller companies right now. The regulatory environment won't allow it. And it's not just the United States. The UK could block it as well. So because of that, Google's not going to go and say, hey, we're acquiring character AI. And this is the exact same playbook that we saw Microsoft. It seems like they sort of like invented and was the front runner of this when they went and essentially acqui-hired Mustafa Suleyman from Inflection, right? Multi-billion-dollar company, raised over $1 billion. And then the whole thing gets wrapped up and essentially sold to Microsoft. But really all they did was gutted the core team, licensed the data, but it's its own entity and it can still keep running. And that's what we're seeing with character AI, right? You have this absolute rock star. He's invented something incredible. 20 million people or something crazy like that are using character AI. And Google realizes that they messed up. If you know his story, it's kind of funny. Essentially, he was at Google. He invented what was ChatGPT back in like 2017, but like an AI assistant, showed it to Google. They're like, we're kind of concerned that this could like eat into like our search business with our ad revenue. Right. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to release this thing. And then he's like, okay, screw you guys, left and started his own company, Character AI, which now is really successful. And then Google's like, okay, we want you back, because obviously, whether they want to or not, OpenAI, Perplexity, everyone else forced their hand, and so they have to disrupt their own ad model and stuff. So they're bringing him back. But the eye-watering part, Connor, and I need to get your take on this. Like $2.7 billion, is that not just astronomical?
So it's astronomical. And the Wall Street Journal broke this story originally, saying that this wasn't just licensing character AI. And by the way, character AI, again, just lest you think like, it's different from Inflection in that there's a huge business case for it. It has 200 monthly users, 9 million daily active users, million monthly visits, average session time, 29 minutes. This thing is colossal, and it's only getting bigger. So you can imagine Google just doing this. But again, it's the unspoken sort of secret is that they were really just trying to get this guy back in the door. And so Business Insider was asking me about this, like, hey, didn't they overpay? Because everybody's like, oh my gosh, they overpaid. And I kind of have got a hot take that they did not overpay for this. So if you follow the NFL in America, pro sports and that kind of stuff, you'd think that there would be way more NFL quarterbacks. It's one of these things where the single sort of like metric of success, if you are an NFL team, National Football League team in America, is do you have a great quarterback or not? It's just kind of that. Now it's 50 people on this team. You need this. And people think like of all the people in America trying to do this because you get paid $40 million a year, there must be more than 32, there's like 10. And it's just one of these rare things. And my point was that with these AI folks, are there tons of AI geniuses? Yes, absolutely. Are there tons of folks that can, bring this to, that have like a great vision for what they could build? Yes, absolutely. Are there tons that have, can bring it to market? Yes. But are there many people that can do all three? No, there are very, very few. It's like a Sam Altman. It's a Dario Amodei. This guy, Noam Shazeer, left Google, where he wrote one of the papers that started this whole thing, started character AI. I mean, that is success to success. That's like The Rock being in wrestling and then The Rock going into acting. This guy is The Rock. I don't care if you know him or not. That's the thing. There are just not that many people like this. And just like, when you're drafting quarterbacks and things like that, you just need a few of these guys to hit, and it really increases the chances of success if they've done it once or twice before. So yes, even if they're paying 2.7 to get this guy back in the building, and by the way, they're not. They brought a bunch of the rest of the team. They're licensing character AI, so it's not 2.7 billion. It's amortized that over whatever. But point being, you have to pay for these people. Think about it. Suskever, right? Ilya Suskever, who left OpenAI, went off. And Jaden, what did he raise? He raised like $1 billion or something,
Yep.
right? Like in day one. And that, they went out and he said, we're not even going to be able to produce anything for 2 years. And he raised $1 billion. I am very much of the mind that they are not overpaying for things like this, but it's huge headlines. They raise the good questions. I don't know. This is a fascinating topic for me.
It's so fascinating, and the news just keeps coming because there's just news today that Character AI has now hired a new CPO, right? So they took some of the old leadership team essentially out of the company, and I believe it's the person that is currently running it, like their current CEO, their interim CEO is Dominic Perella, who is also just their general counsel. So like their general counsel has become their CEO interim and he's running it. They need to find a new CEO, but they need to find a new C-suite for everybody. But what's interesting is their new CPO they just hired. It's one of the YouTube executives. So to me, it's kind of interesting because obviously YouTube's owned by Google. You have Google hiring out this company like you would expect in a normal acquisition. And then you have Google like instilling, well, who knows if they're instilling, but it was someone who worked at Google for 16 years at YouTube, one of their C-suite executives putting that in as kind of a replacement. So it feels like classic acquisition move, like because now like all the people are just like moving around the same thing. But it clearly they've set this up in a way that is not. So I think this is fascinating. Like you mentioned, 20 million monthly users is huge news. They have now over 100 million different characters. These are like little
Holy
AI
cow.
bots that you can talk to. And so I think this is a really interesting company. They recently launched a new feature, which was like calls. So you can actually make calls and talk to the bots on there. And they said something like over 107 million calls have been made. That's 40% of its users have made at least one call since they unveiled that. So fascinating piece of software. And I'm really excited to see where it unrolls post YouTube kind of grabbing it and pulling it in.
100%. The last thing I'll just say on that is like, lest you think that this is going to be able to be copied, consider the fact that Meta has been trying to do this with almost create its own little character AI with the Tom Brady characters and the Kylie Jenner characters, or just all these characters that sort of flopped. But God bless Meta because they're just like, all right, we're getting rid of that. Let's try this new. Now they're trying a new thing with voice. These are not easy things to do. Character AI has figured it out, and it's figured out a great business model. And that's how you do it. You bring in a great team and you let that team do something else. And that's how they're doing it. Focus on team, guys. This is like business school 101. You want to focus on the joint track record of success for a team, especially in this space. It's so competitive. I don't know. Google, I mean, there's a lot of focus on Google, Gemini, all the models. Our buddy Logan is dropping new things every day. But what Google is doing with some of the huge companies that they either own or are licensed is huge, and they're bringing a lot of talent back in-house, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Absolutely amazing stuff. If you enjoyed the episode today, make sure to leave us a review wherever you get your podcast. We'd really, really appreciate it, and we hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.